Maritime simply put relates to navigation or commerce on the high seas. You say money makes the world go round. I say ships move the money that make the world move. Who navigates these large international ships? How often are international ships required to be surveyed and inspected? Maritime people take off in the world by way of our local Bahamas defense force. Very sad to say that of the 1,500 plus ships that are registered under the Bahamian flag, only a very small amount of Bahamians are on board. Maritime Matters.
Pleasant good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Maritime Matters. Whether you're listening via radio wave or 97.5 FM, via an internet radio app, via cable Bahamas, channel 951, or via BTC Flow TV, channel 606. We appreciate you, and we humbly welcome you to our show. We now encourage you to check out our YouTube page, Maritime Matters Bahamas. Here you can listen to all our previous shows at your own leisure. Please feel free to hit us up on YouTube at Maritime Matters Bahamas. Pleasant good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Captain Glenn Bain. This is show number 23, folks. And tonight, we got a super guest at your disposal. We got a guy here that knows everything you need to know about engines, generators, and engineering systems on board those huge international ships. Our show tonight centers around managing ship-generated waste oil and ship-generated sewage. We will also discuss ship surveys, ship inspections, and ship dry docking. So hold on to those engines, folks, and join us on this engaging and informative maritime discussion. Our sponsors for tonight's show are One-on-One Pharmacy. Listen, people, you want good treatment when you need medication? You know where to go. My good little cousin Shantia McBride and her lovely team at One-on-One Pharmacy, they will have you fixed right up. You fill your prescription at the store or send your refills via the online site, oneononepharmacy.com. That's all one word, lowercase, oneononepharmacy.com. Two locations are East Street South and Charles Sanders Highway. When you walk in the door, you will be treated with royalty and utmost respect. Say hello to my good cousin Stephanie Cooper, that is. She know the name. We go way back, all the way back to Roll Avenue, all the way back to South Andres. She ain't no number South Andres, but that's where I start. Deep Creek. Big up Deep Creek, South Andres. That's how we rolling tonight. While you're in there, just say hello to them. Let them know Maritime Matters sent you. And even if you don't let them know that, they're going to be giving you special treatment. We are also sponsored by Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited. At BMC, we provide a full slate of ISPS maritime security services. That's maritime assessments, port facility assessments, port facility plans, port facility annual verification audits. We also do the 3 levels of maritime training. That's maritime security, ISPS training. We do ISPS consultancy. Anything ISPS, check us out. We will sort you out. Thirdly, we're sponsored by Totally Secured Security and Investigation Services. Those guys are headquartered in 8 Mile Rock. For all your security guard duties or security investigation needs, please give my boy, my good buddy, Andrew Storup a call at 819-894-44. He and his certified security team will see you straight. That's Totally Secured Security. My boy Andrew Storup. Call him at 819-8944. To the listening audience out there, it will be remiss of me to go any further and not introduce my wonderful producer. So, ladies and gents, he's here with us again. I introduce to you the insatiable, the man of the hour, the man with all the power, the one and only Craig the control man, Gibson. Yes, sir. Indeed. You may hear in my voice, people, I'm a bit tired. At least I might be tired. Just feel a little fatigue. I don't know. It's mostly fatigue. I was working so hard to get on this show because I know this fella in front of me. Boy, we going deep. We going deep, 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 deep. Any questions y'all get tonight, we ready for y'all. You're listening to Maritime Matters, people. On this show, we talk maritime. Maritime Matters airs weekly at 19:30 on Tuesdays. That's 7:30 p.m. every Tuesday night here on Love 97 FM. The main purpose of our show is to highlight persons that made significant contributions to maritime in the Bahamas and to sensitize Bahamians of opportunities in this maritime sector. Halfway through the show, we will open the phone lines. The number to call will be 326-8255. Again, that number you will want to call. Because it ain't going to be long before we open these lines tonight. We got a lot to cover. We got a long way to go. 326-8255. At this point, we again highlight our maritime standouts, our Bahamian maritime heroes. Yes, we're talking about the skipper for the HMBS Flamingo when it was sank in 1980. You know, the leadership and captainmanship, if that's a word, that my good friend Senior Commander Amos Roll would have displayed. The model officer, Senior Commander Amos Roll. Secondly, we have our port controller extraordinaire of all time. The man that brought the port from where it was to where it is. In the name of Mr. Leon Flowers. Well, of course, everybody know our sloop sailing pioneer. The one and only legendary, the great Captain Raleigh Gray. And he will Raleigh Gray your boat. Feel it bailing out? Yes, Captain Raleigh Gray. Then we got our two sailing gold medalists from the Olympics. The only athletes to ever win a gold medal in any maritime event at the Olympics. That's why we can't forget them. That's why they're so special to me and to us. That would be Sir Derwent Knowles and Sir Cecil Cook. Well, if they didn't knight him, I knight him now. Sir Cecil Cook. Man, what they achieved, we'll never see again for a long time. Most likely not in our lifetime. Especially the way things going now with sailing. You know, we need to get that star class back. And, man, look here, we got talent in this country. So I'm sure we'll ring them up, get another gold medal at the Olympics and sloop sailing. Well, sailing, whatever class sailing vessel. Because we hard like that. Current matters in maritime. Boy, we ain't got much of them going on right now. Nothing really affecting the Bahamas. Because, you know, most of our stuff done wash away. But we can't forget Ukraine. The Russian invasion continues. Last week, the second port city, Odessa. You know, they got Mariupol over a month ago. Wrap that up. Take charge of that port. Now, the second port, you know, they only have two big ports in Ukraine. The second one is Odessa. Last week, Russians took charge of Odessa. They still hold on to the Donbass region. That's Luhansk and Donetsk. They're the big cities in the Donbass region. But that whole eastern flank, now fully under Russian control. And now, the southern flank, since they got both ports. They had Mariupol, now they have Odessa. So the whole southern flank, well, you know they always had Crimea. So the Crimean Peninsula, along with Odessa and Mariupol, take a sweep of the south. And then, of course, that eastern region, they got Luhansk and Donetsk. And you know what they're waiting for now. They're gonna try to get into that city of Kharkiv. That's the next lowest hanging fruit. And when they done wrap that up, they'll try and get the whole half, the eastern portion of Ukraine, all wrapped up before they move toward Kiev. Kiev is a big deal, ladies and gentlemen. You don't just go in there and take Kiev. That'd probably take like 6 to 8 months, probably a year. But you know the Russians, they take their time and they do what they have to do. At the end of the day, the entire Ukraine will be under the subjection leadership of Ukraine will have to move on. And of course, Russia will choose who they put or who they allow to ascend to the leadership role. They don't want to own Ukraine. They just want to make sure that Ukraine is not going against their wishes, because that's a border state, that's a buffer state, and Russia is not going to allow the rest of the world, particularly the U.S., by way of the North Atlantic Treaty, the NATO group, to come right on their border by getting in Ukraine. So that's what this is all about. It ain't really about them trying to be powerful. They just trying to make sure they secure their buffer, like every major country in the world would do. Think about China, think about the U.S., think about Russia. Those countries ain't allow people, if they could do anything about it, just moving in on their border countries where they would no longer have a buffer to defend themselves. So that's what we got in Talking Maritime. Me with my tired voice, got to hurry bring on my guests. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a very lively show because we're going to be talking about some things that Bahamians love to talk about. And we're talking maritime as usual. You're listening to Maritime Matters. At this point, we move to our first break. And when we return, people, we will engage tonight's most special guest. So please, stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Without further ado, I am so pleased to introduce tonight's guest. He hails all the way from the largest island of the Caribbean. Our good friend from the South, people, the great land of Cuba. This cat, ladies and gentlemen, is an engineer extraordinaire. Yes, it's a brother that spent many, many years of his lifetime sailing the wonderful waters of the world on those super huge international cargo ships. After working his way through university with top honors, this brother gracefully maneuvered his way to the mountain top, wrestled down the Buddha and chewed on the betel nut. So brace yourself for quite an interesting, very informative, slightly provocative discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you one of the best friends I will ever gain and a great co-worker, Chief Engineer Mario Jesus CAMPOS. Mario, my friend, welcome to Maritime Matters, brother.
I am glad really to be here in this show in order to share with everyone the experiences that I have as a chief engineer, not in international basis only in the Bahamas too, because I sailed long time here in the Bahamas. I have a serious experience here as an engineer sailing around here, and I can share with you this night many of the things that I passed through, on my crew passed through during my service time as a chief engineer.
Thank you very much, my friend. And boy, I'd be happy to have you. You know, we don't have any Bahamian chief engineers. In my whole time, we have what we call chief engineer. I mean, properly certified chief engineer for international ships based on the STCW convention and STCW code. There's absolutely none. I'm sure we're going to have some soon, Mario. But in the meantime, we got you. You sailed in the Bahamas, you sailed internationally first, and now you belong to us. So although you born and grew up, which part of Cuba were you born and where you grew up?
I born in Havana, Cuba. I grew in Havana.
Okay.
I was no familiar with the farming side
countryside.
of Cuba, countryside of Cuba. I born.
You was a city boy.
Yeah,
that's why you go on to university and mash up all them things and why you choose engineering though? I was scared of engineering. That's a lot of maths and physics and. You did all them in high school, or you started that when you got to university to do engineering?
Okay, from my family, for daddy's side, I have many engineers.
Oh, so you come from a line of engineers?
My family,
okay.
My father was engineer, my uncle was engineer, I have cousins that are engineers in me.
So you was born an engineer. You didn't pick that up. Nobody tell you about that. You knew about that.
No, also the education that I got from my parents.
Yes.
You know, my daddy was a person that liked to dismantle things,
Right,
repair
right.
things. And I remember when I was small, I break these old clocks, you know, this...
The big grandfather clock?
The
Or the
clock
small
that
one?
The clock that had a bell and ring.
The bell
and
on the
play,
top.
plenty,
Yeah, the
you
two
know,
bells
noise.
on top. Yeah.
Then my daddy go and see that I broke that clock. And he say, no, that can be fixed.
Yeah, you will fix it.
And I am going to show you how you do it. He dismantled, tear down all this clock.
Piece by piece.
Piece by piece.
And
And,
he-
I pass almost a month.
Try and fix it.
No, I actually put it back.
Oh,
I
excellent.
put it back. But at the time that he started to walking on, I say, oh, Daddy, I assembled this. I cannot get it move.
Right.
And then he go and take a small plier and move
The hand?
that thing that have the spring.
Right, the spring, yeah.
And this
And it started to work.
And I say, oh, and I get so satisfied. I got so excited. And I say, well, and from that particular time, and I say, well, I am going to study this.
Well, that's when you knew you was an engineer.
I am going to study
Boy,
this.
I tell you.
In my family, there was nobody vinculated with the maritime.
Oh, so you're the first ship engineer.
I was the first
Ship engineer.
chief engineer. I went to the maritime school.
Right.
I get my limit license, the first one. After that, I start to moving and rank up.
Right.
Get experience. I get my second certificate. Was a second engineer. I get on 1988.
1988. But when you got your first certification to serve as an engineer officer?
Okay, my first certificate was, I studied in the maritime school from 1973 to 1977.
So you went into school in 73?
Yeah.
It's ironic, that's the year when our country got independence, 1973. So in 73 you went into university.
I went to the maritime school to start the training.
Wow.
I passed 4 years and a half down there.
So 4 years and a half doing classroom work.
Yeah.
You didn't sail during that time?
No.
Okay.
The last one.
And you got a degree at the end of the 4.5 years?
Yeah. The last one period of the training, you have a sailing voyage, international sailing voyage in a vessel. That's a training in order to you get familiar with things.
Right.
When you finish the training.
So that's while you're in the university, the training?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're a cadet. You basically is a ship cadet.
Yeah.
And they put you on a ship and you learn.
And then you go finish the school. The finish school, it means that you have to go and pass through the government examination.
Right.
The Navy.
The administration.
Yeah, the Navy send a team of officers.
Right.
And you have to expose, they give you a questionnaire, plenty of it. And you have to answer all these questions. And
so you have to be interviewed also?
Yeah, that's
just after you done passed the written part, you have to go in front of all these people.
Yes.
But the Navy people don't know nothing but maritime, eh? The Navy people don't deal with SOLAS and MARPOL and STCW. They just do what they told.
The trick is the Maritime Academy in Cuba.
Yeah. That's military.
Yes.
Oh.
Now.
So they had a part to play with that. The military kind of oversaw that.
Yeah, you pass the training as a military. You finish with military rank.
Oh, so when you finish, you was a commander.
You finish with military rank,
he's a lieutenant.
But they go and dismiss you and put you as a merchant marine officer to serve in the merchant marine. That's the only way where you can get
that
training and that certification.
You have to go through the
pass
military.
For the Navy.
Oh.
It's similar in United States. You in United States, the academy is for Navy.
It's behind all maritime academies. The Navy set the standards for maritime.
Exactly.
And they use the Navy standard to apply to
they form
the commercial regulations.
Yeah.
And so when you're in the Navy, quite technically, you're practicing beyond. The same thing with the Air Force. The speed of those jets, commercial pilots can never fly them. you have to have people who go beyond commercial pilots to fly those jets. And some of those aircraft carriers that some of those navies have, man, the regular captain can't deal with the aircraft carrier. He wouldn't begin to understand how to operate the aircraft. Mind you, he'd be able to navigate the aircraft carrier, but anybody could, and any navigator could navigate it. But running an aircraft carrier is not like running a cruise ship or a cargo ship.
No.
Because you got systems on board, you got a whole heap of planes, you got you got a big crew, you got who knows specialty areas. So I understand when you say that school that you went to is really a military school.
Yeah, it's a military school.
But that's the only way you could get commercial qualifications in Cuba.
You pass the training as a military officer. You do
Right.
damage control.
Oh, wow.
You do a lot of things. Then one of the training that is usually and very frequently they put you inside the room. A zero engineer, and they start the room had a similar. You see the fraction of the wall of the room start to breaking up, and you see the water coming up, and you have to damage control in that.
Oh, it's like simulator training.
Yeah, and you have to.
They had simulators from back in the 70s?
Yes.
Wow. Cuba, you all really have. I wonder if they offer that maritime program to outsiders, like how they offer doctors and all the rest of that. I wonder if they offer that to outsiders, because I know a lot of people who go to Cuba and the education in the university is free.
And I am talking about the old Maritime Academy in the Mariel.
Right.
That's the first Maritime Academy that we have.
Did they have another one since then, or
No,
they still have
after
to use that one?
After that, they built a new one in Santa Fe with all things.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so they upgrade?
Yeah, they upgrade that. The other one, the old one, Mariel, does not exist anymore.
I think we need to investigate, because a lot of Bahamians go to Cuba to do technical studies like doctors, and I don't think they do lawyers over there, but doctors and engineers and that type of thing, because Cuba have a system where they offer Caribbean students free training in their universities.
Well,
So if that maritime institution is still available, I'm going to try and connect some Bahamians, especially in engineering.
I know one young engineer that graduated in Cuba.
A Bahamian?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know if he is still working in BEC, but he was working as a mechanical engineer
In
there.
BPL?
Yeah.
And he was a marine engineer. He was.
Was a mechanical engineer.
Oh, I ain't counting that, because we do maritime. On this show, we talk maritime.
Yeah, but well, maritime.
I'm thinking about it, but you said the maritime school is military, so they probably wouldn't take outsiders. The new one is also military, you think?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're not going to allow outsiders in there then. It's like West Point in the U.S. If you're not American, you can't go there.
You cannot go there.
Yeah. So and I understand. Maybe we can understand that, but yeah, maybe that's why he did the other type of engineering. And I'm happy that he pursued that, because we need engineers in this country, man, and people like you who have all that experience. And we're going to talk about some of your experience. A Bahamian with your background would go so far in engineering in this country, because we have machinery, especially BPL, that needs that type of expertise that you have. And I don't want to preempt it, because we're going to talk about some of the details of what BPL does and what you did at that kind of links in almost, that you can move right in there and be a big help to them. But we'll talk about that when we reach right now. So your first marine engineer job as an engineer was after you finished school, after the 4.5 years.
Yeah.
Where did you go?
Well, when I finished the school, the first job that I have related to marine engineer, they sent me to work in the shipyard, Havana shipyard.
Oh, in Cuba?
Yes.
So they had a ship there that they sent you to?
You go in the shipyard and you learn how
so you was dealing with all the ships at the shipyard, not just one ship?
No. I wasn't. They sent a set of engineers down there, and we was working in the shipyard, planning, dry docking, and planning, repairing.
For all the ships, or for this one particular ship?
Well, they assign you a ship.
Oh, you was assigned a particular ship?
You were assigned.
And you was doing all that planning?
You go and you see how the ship is dry docking. This is a very good experience, because as an engineer, when you arrive
Time to sail.
Your time to sail and go to dry dock. You are really familiar with what is the procedure in order to put
to
the
prepare
vessel,
for dry docking and what you got to go through.
Yeah.
That's very good, Mario. And after that, how long were you at that shipyard working?
I was 6 months down there.
That's all. What year was this?
That was in
77?
78, 79.
78. Okay.
79.
Yeah. After the 5.5 years. Right. 79.
Yeah, and after
You was there for
that, this
6
period,
months.
I started sailing as a assistant engineer. It means you are a junior officer. You
Yes.
don't have
You're like a cadet.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
don't have
No rank.
No rank. You don't have responsibility to any equipment
But you
or
learn
anything. But you are learning.
Right.
And the learning is, I am going to tell you my experience with the learning.
Right.
You know, when you go, no matter you pass a maritime school, you train, you pass the examination. When you go to the engine room, any machinery space you go, you feel intimidated because you see so many pipes, so many machinery, so many noise, and you really try to figure out how this thing work. Now, your chief engineer at the time tell you, well, Mario, we start the sailing, you know our responsibility, but you need to choose which watchkeeping you are going to do. You choose.
That's the time. Which
yeah,
watch?
the time watch you are assigned to one of the engineers.
Right. The engineer officers.
You can be assigned to the second, to the third, to the fourth. Well, I
Choose
say,
one,
I am going to start with the fourth because I want to see what the fourth do.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And in this period of time, the chief engineer tell you, take your overall, take your flashlight, go in the engine room. I want, in this week, you draw yourself all drawings, all piping, all how piping room, which equipment is to that system.
Connected to which.
And then we are going to go to the master plan of the engine room, and then we are going to check in order to you miss something.
So you have to go in the engine room, see how all the pipeline work, draw them, and the system and the pump and whatever affiliated with them, how all the lines run.
Exactly.
And he wanted you to do that in 1 week.
In 1 week.
Wow. And then when you finish that?
And when you finish that, he sit down with you, take the real drawing.
Right.
And he say,
the actual schematics of the ship.
Actual schematic, you see, and I say, oh, why you made this valve? Or why you do this?
So you need to put in every valve in every line.
Every valve,
Wow.
every line, every elbow,
Gee.
you have to put that. That requires.
So he compared the drawing that you did
yeah.
with the actual schematics that was produced when the ship was built.
Yeah, and you start system by system. You start with fuel. You start with the boiler, all the steam, all salt water, all ballast, everything. And
So I heard a lot about systems on board ship. I understand the difference between a regular engineer who works ashore and the engineer who works on a ship.
Yes.
Is that the ship have a lot of systems, because you have. I think I made a note of some of the systems I might have known about. I don't know much. You have the fuel system, first of all.
Yes.
So you have the fuel tanks, the transfer. When you have a main tank or day tank, and you have storage tanks where you transfer into the.
Okay, let me explain you how the engine room layout is. Okay, you have in the center of the engine room, in the center line of the vessel, you have lie down the main engine, right?
Right.
And then you have the engine room.
But first of all, most of those big ships, those big cargo ships, have only one engine.
Yes.
One big slow-turning engine.
Big
and you can go 3-4 levels and still looking at the same engine.
Yeah, because imagine a building with many flats. Okay, let's go in Clifton Pier. You see how tall the building is?
The warehouse, yeah.
Because he has to house this engine, and the engine is tall.
You think that's only one engine? That's like 2 or 3 engines in
No. Every building is for one engine.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, Clifton Pier?
Yes.
There's some huge engines.
Yeah, huge.
Wow.
Huge.
That's those
No,
Wärtsilä?
that's the Boommaster.
Or the B&M?
Yeah, but man Boommaster away.
Man, domestic, and yeah.
This
B&M.
is a marine engine. The only difference is that it's coupled directly to one generator to produce electricity.
Right.
Now the problem there is some variations in the layout. But this system have fuel,
Yeah.
have cooling water,
Lube oil.
low oil.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now the organization, I don't know how the terminal is, but in a vessel you have a set of tanks.
Yeah.
Okay, you have the daily tank. Every day you put fuel in that tank, and the engine
that's where the engine suck from.
Consuming
Right.
from that. But now this fuel has to be prepared. When I say prepare, it's cleaning it up, draining the water. You do that using a centrifugal separator, and this fuel.
What kind of fuel we talking about first? We ain't talking about gasoline or diesel.
No.
What we talking about? They call it bunker C or fuel oil or.
Okay, for maneuvers, when you go to port,
Right.
you use diesel.
Really?
Yeah.
On the
diesel.
same engine?
Yes.
Oh, they could use different types of fuel
Yeah,
then?
you use the fuel oil or the bunker, how you call it.
Bunker
That
C.
for the sailing, when you make a long
While you're on the voyage,
Yeah,
use
you're on
that.
the voyage, you preheat that bunker.
Why you preheat it? Why you have to preheat it?
You have to preheat it because the density, the viscosity is very high. And for pumping, you have to preheat in order that heat flow from the pipes.
Oh, because it's thick.
It's thick.
And you need to it's something like taking blood thinners. It's thick. In order to flow through the pipe properly
have to
and through the
heat it
engine, you have to heat it up first.
You have to heat it up.
So how do they heat it up on board ships?
Well, you use a boiler.
Oh, the ships have... That's what the boiler does?
Yes.
The boiler heats up the fuel
Yes.
before it go for use.
Yeah, but the boiler have multiple use on board. Usually, you provide steam
Steam, yeah.
for the to heat it up the fuel. Also, when there is winter, you pass steam in all heated exchange in all cabins and everything, and you keep the vessel.
So that's like a space heater. That
Yeah.
that feeds the space heaters in the rooms.
Yeah.
Well, we in the Bahamas, we don't have no winter. We don't have cold. Our ships don't get cold like that.
And
You talking about regular
yeah,
places like in the Baltic Sea and the North Sea and places up like Canada where it gets cold on board these ships. Boy, these ships could get cold. I remember one time I was in Louisiana. I went to look at a mailboat and it was cold. Man, and I slept on board that and it was brand new mailboat. And I had the right kind of blanket. Oh, Mario, I was so cold. That's when I didn't need one of those boilers.
Yeah,
but I know they don't build small boats.
Yeah, then that is a principle on the international vessel.
Yeah, they have boilers.
You have boilers,
To
but
heat the
also,
fuel oil.
Yeah, but also when you are sailing, really your voyage, you use part of the sauce of the engine
Yeah.
and pass for the recovery boiler you call, and this heat.
The heat from it, yeah.
Produce steam too.
Oh, so you got a lot of steam going on.
Yeah.
I know.
Now this boiler, when you arrive, you are on port that you know how the engine running. Then you switch on your boiler, the main boiler, and you are
Warm.
warm.
So the boiler runs even when you're in port. You always keep it on. The boiler.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's not. It don't have to feed. It don't have to burn. I'm softening the fuel, but you're using it to just keep the ship warm.
And also you have boilers that are able to burn to use fuel oil.
Right.
And then you
So all ships, basically, all those big, large ships have boilers. Because I remember when I was doing my training as a deck officer, they always say those boiler boys, or they used to wear the overall. They call it boiler suit.
Yeah, I know.
Because you do a lot of maintenance to the boilers. Why is it that they call them boiler suits?
The boiler suit, because you go inside the furnace and everything when the boiler is
In the furnace?
You are saving and cleaning up all tubes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a manual cleanup of the boiler when you need to clean it up.
When
You got to go in the boiler.
when you are going to go in maintenance to the boiler.
Yeah.
In the place where the fire is, where
Right.
the
furnace.
flame is,
Yeah.
you have to go down there and clean it up.
Wow.
You have to clean it up that.
Oh, how often is that done?
That usually
Only on dry dock, eh?
in dry dock. usually in dry dock. And also the boiler, you have the engineer that is in charge of the boiler has to treat the water. You have to put chemical in the water in order to control the calcium, the pH of the water and everything. And it's a systematic job.
Right.
It's a systematic job. If you don't do it, you get problem with your boiler. Your boiler can get damaged, serious damage.
All right, let's flip back to you, Mario. 'Cause you know, engineering is deep. Our audience ain't no engineers, only one or two of them. You know, my good friend think he's engineer on deck. I ain't calling no name. But who would you regard as your mentor in your progression to be a marine engineer, chief engineer, or even a second engineer? Who did you look up to while you was coming through the system, through the ranks?
I really have, in my personal life, I have plenty person that
you look up to.
They influence me, and they always give me encouragement in order to, you are doing good, you keep
get better.
And one of those person is he's deceased already, was a master in marine mechanics.
What you mean by master in marine mechanics? What is that?
This is a person that get it's a master degree, master. When I said that was the chief of the faculty of mechanics of the maritime school.
Oh, he was a lecturer. He was one of the trainers.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
and after that, when he retired from the Navy,
right,
he started working. No, he started working in the company, in the maritime company, in the headquarters of the company. He was a chief of the engineering section of Mambisa. And he always, I got a good relationship with him.
That's where the shipyard is?
No, that's a separate. That's a company, okay.
You say Mambisa? And you say that's where you went after you finished your school?
Mambisa, yeah. That's the company, the government company that control all international fleet. Empresa de Navegación Mambisa.
Okay, cool.
And this man was in the technical section of that company or that group, and he always was checking for me how
you getting on?
Progressing. How I was progressing.
So you must have been one of his favorite students when he was in the university.
He had a lot of favorite. No, was me only. That was a group. Yeah.
Okay. He kept in touch with everybody.
Yeah.
But you had a lot of respect for him.
Yeah, definitely.
Who else other than him that you would see as one of your mentors?
Well,
or somebody you really looked up to while you was coming up? Any chief engineer that stands out to you?
Yeah. Yes, I have actually foreign chief engineer. I have one Italian chief engineer that was serving. It was a Cuban Italian.
Okay.
Laino Nepita.
Well, I know Cuba have a good relationship with Italy. Because them fellas, I've been to Cuba a couple of times, and when you go on the beach, man, you see them Italian fellas, and they're always crowded with Cuban girls. They love it.
I have a Russian engineer, chief engineer.
Really? From Russia?
Russia.
Oh, you all also had Cuba also have a very close ties with Russia.
Yeah, but
so he served on Russian ship, or he served on?
No, he served in the Cuban fleet. You know, the Cuban have a contract with Russia, with Soviet Union at that time, and they send chief
supplies,
engineers,
right, crew
to train and be in the technical section and sail. And I was one of those engineers with sail with Russian. I learned a lot from that engineer.
Well, those Russian engineers, I've been on some Russian some Russian tugboats and ships where they had everything in writing, particularly tugboats. Russia made a lot of tugboats, and they still had all the signs with Russian writing.
Yeah.
And some of them came with a Russian engineer. Man, they know those ships inside out.
Yeah.
Nobody would have been able to run it if that Russian wasn't on board.
I can tell you one thing. Russians engineers are very good engineers.
Yeah. What about Ukraine? Because Ukraine service the maritime fleet with a lot of seafarers, especially engineers.
Yeah, always we are talking about Russia, but
you're talking about the old Soviet Union.
The old Soviet Union,
was part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. The engineer is a top not engineered. When you
Okay.
have one Russian engineer in some place, you can be sure that the thing work properly.
Right.
They are good.
Okay. So what about you as a chief engineer in the Bahamas? Did you
Oh.
mentor any young Bahamian to come up and learn about engineering, marine engineering on board ships? Was there any Bahamian working under you at any time?
Yeah, I have. No, actually no.
Only foreigners?
Only foreign. But I can tell you one thing. You remember Fred Clare, right?
Yeah, but he was deck.
Yeah, he's dead.
I remember Fred. Fred Clare and I,
but
yeah.
you know,
But
that-
he learned a lot from you as well.
yeah, you know why he get that training? And he go to school because
You encourage him to.
I encourage him, you need to go to study. You don't supposed to be sailor. You are too young.
Yeah.
to
Got to
go
get
to-
qualified first.
And they say, the captain Bill sometimes put him, you know, in the bridge.
Yeah, Bill Williams was a good captain.
Yeah, and he say, and he put it, okay, let's go, and he put it and start to getting
And allow him to navigate.
involved
Yes,
with the
yes, yes,
navigation
yes.
and
Right.
and you know radar this and that. And I was observing this boy. I said, no man, you need to save your money and go
Off
to the
to
school.
maritime
And
school.
this is one of the satisfaction that I have is that he went to United States, passed the training, get certified, and it is one of the few.
Yeah,
that I know
that came up
that-
while you
that-
was on board in the
yeah.
Bahamas, working in the Bahamas. But I can tell you, Fred Clare called me after he got certified because I was at the BMA as
You remember that
in
he
the
went to
technical area.
our office to show us the certification. He was happy.
Yeah, because he couldn't get it. He was trying to deal directly with the BMA, and then they gave him the turnaround. So after he called me, I called London and I was like, well, what's going on with Fred Clare? And I asked him, what is it that this man don't have? Because, you know, he's a BMA, he need to be certified. And he got a certification, and then he got married, I think, to an American girl. So he stayed in the U.S. He didn't come back home right away.
No, he don't.
And he was able to eventually, I don't know if he got his master mariner yet, because I haven't spoken to him for a long time. But anyway, we're talking with you. So Fred Clare was one of your pupils that you encouraged to do well, which is very good. But you had a big impact and influence on many Bahamians, even on the deck side, because I know how did you came here. What year did you actually come into the Bahamas to work?
I came.
98, 99?
98.
98.
98.
Right.
July
1998, the middle of 1998.
And I get my first trip was a regatta in Cat Island. I went to get the vessel in Cat Island.
You joined the ship in Cat Island?
Yeah, in Cat
Was that a Freeport feeder?
Yeah,
What else doing in Cat Island?
yeah.
There's party in it. During regatta? I get to talk to Bill Williams. So that's when you was introduced to your ship.
Yeah. I relieved the Canadian chief engineer. You remember?
I was gonna ask you. No, I was still in the party. I didn't go to Tamako shipping until the end of 1999, or the middle of 1999. I went to Tamako shipping.
Yeah,
so
well,
so anything happened in 1988, 98,
No,
I wouldn't know.
No, you want to
So
know
it was a you relieved a Canadian captain. I heard about this Canadian captain that was on the feeder, before you. So you relieved him, and that was it. You stayed on the feeder. Nobody else is on the feeder as chief engineer after that.
Yeah, that's chief engineer. The hangover was very quick.
Yes.
2 papers with the quantity of lubricant, the fuel.
So he didn't give you a proper handover. You didn't work with him for a week before he left.
No.
What you mean?
That was not that way. He hung over, and in 48 hours he was out of the ship.
Really?
Yeah.
So when he got off the ship, it wasn't still in Cat Island though.
Yeah, the ship was there. He left me there.
So when you met the ship in Cat Island, before the ship left Cat Island, the chief engineer left you.
Yeah.
So you had to learn the ship on your own.
Of course.
But you had a good staff.
I have my second engineer was Brian.
Yeah, Brian. Where's Brian from?
Brian is Guyana.
I thought Brian was Bahamian.
No, he is Guyana.
He fitted in well though.
Yeah,
So he's Guyanese. He's from Guyana.
Yeah.
And who else you had with you? You had Johnny A. Brian.
No.
Johnny wasn't there yet.
No.
So
Johnny,
who did you meet on board with Brian?
only him.
Just you and Brian?
Yeah.
To run a big ship, the feeder?
Yeah. And we make the sailing back.
Wow. Okay. So you got Johnny and them later on?
Later on. And Carlito later on.
Carlito is the fitter?
The feeder, yeah.
From the Philippines?
Yeah.
Where was Johnny from?
Johnny
Africa? He's African,
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly.
But was he a good engineer? I mean,
Yeah.
Was he an engineer officer or engineer rating?
No, it wasn't rating. He was an oiler.
But he knew how to do everything.
Yeah, he was good.
He's a hardworking guy.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah.
He
But
was
you guys
good.
did so much. You all overhaul engines, overhaul generators. I watched you on that ship do some things that I thought the factory had to come in and do. But you just did everything.
Yeah, but I had a good set of engineers there.
But you had a good training too, because I know plenty of people who are good engineers, but they anytime something overhaul need to be done to engines, they have to call in the factory. I guess I don't know if it's the type of engine, but
I think that is the experiences that you have are right to one point, that if you have to dismantle something, the only thing that you have to have is your manual of the engine.
Right.
And you already have the experience. You take a cylinder cover out, you take a piston out, chain ring, chain, main body,
change
chain
liners,
whatever,
change
everything.
crankcase. You all used to go in the crankcase, the crankshaft, and open that up too, eh?
Yeah. And chain bearing, if you have problem with the bearing, and take a deflation crank reading in the crankshaft, everything.
So is there anything you had to call for assistance with the Freeport feeder for any machinery? Or you did everything you just needed the parts?
The only thing that they call in Tamiko shipping,
Not in Tamago shipping, I mean like a specialist.
they call an specialist to check the steering gear. The steering gear have the
rudder.
The rudder was misaligned.
It wasn't aligned. So they had to get it aligned with the steering wheel.
And I only have the opportunity to see this specialist go down there, walk in that. And after that, they don't call it no more. Because every time that there is any problem, I go and do it myself.
Oh, so once you saw what he did, you didn't have to call him back?
No.
Well, you were sharp like that. They save a lot of money because you was on that ship, because they didn't call anybody. I mean, all other ships I dealt with, we were calling specialists for all kind of things. But for some reason, we wasn't calling no specialists for the free feeder. You did all the air condition work. You did all the electrical work. You did all the electronic work. You all did everything.
Yeah, and every time that there is a problem with the radar or
radar, radio,
anything, I go and check. If I cannot fix it, and I say, boy, you need to call a specialist to.
Right.
But initially, I go and check myself.
Yeah, you could check everything out. Boy, you guys are something else on the Freeport feed. I got to congratulate you on that again, Mario, because I was so impressed. I've never seen an engineer. Mind you, I had some very good engineers on Defense Force. I had Brooks and I had Bigville and I had people like Woodside, Woody. I had Shooter Khan, Pratt. And then, you got Gombe and Sergeant and we had so much good officers in the Defense Force. But, in Defense Force, you're not required to be certified because they only use ratings as chief engineers.
Oh.
They didn't use officers as chief engineers, which I think was a big miss. And I don't know, even today, I think some of the ships have officers, but do they do watch, and are they really engineers, as in fix it and been through the proper training? I don't know. But of course, we'll be addressing those things as we move along with Maritime Matters.
I think that the real problem is, okay, that every country has a maritime academy, and the maritime academy is focused in the military, in Navy, and then all officers pass training.
Pass through training, yeah, and that's what I think we need to do in the Bahamas. We need to get all of our people in our defense force, because that's our Navy.
Exactly.
And we need to get them certified based on whatever ship they run in. And before they can move to another rank, they should have the certification, because that way you make your force more proficient. I don't want to talk about Defense Force too much because, Raymond King, the Commodore, Commander Defense Force, is a very good friend of mine, and I think he's doing a very good job. And at the end of the day, I think he wants to see improvement in these areas. And he told me on a show before that he wants these people to get certified in those areas. So we're going to continue working on that. But in the real world, like you was, what was your most memorable maritime moment? From the time you went on your first ship as an engineer officer till the time you retired, what stands out the most to you on any ship?
Okay, I have many experiences.
I'm sure.
I can't talk, but I will. I am going to tell you my experiences from my first trip as a chief engineer.
Right.
Okay. When I get appointed as a chief engineer, they assign me the worst vessel of the fleet.
Wow.
When I say the worst,
Yeah.
was all vessel with plenty problems.
Oh, it was very old.
And a crew that I don't know any one of them.
Wow.
You know.
So you was totally new to the ship.
Exactly. I was new.
Was this a Cuban ship or something?
No, that's a Cuban ship.
Right. How big was the ship?
That's a cargo ship, big.
It traveled around the world, or
yes.
it crossed the Atlantic Ocean?
Yes.
Oh, that's a huge ship.
That was, I don't know if you are familiar with the SD type vessel that is built in England. That is a old type of vessel, but it's...
But back then it was a big ship.
Yeah, that was a big. That
Okay,
was
so-
over 120 meters long.
Well, that would be about 400 feet.
Long.
That's huge.
Yeah, huge.
A 400-foot cargo ship. Was it a bulk carrier or
No, a dry cargo.
dry cargo?
Yeah. Okay, and this vessel, from the time that I put my foot in that vessel, was problem along the way.
Everything breaking down.
Everything breaking down, problem. I received the vessel with one cylinder lining making problem. I making my trip,
Right.
and when I arrived to Durban, South Africa, I had to take that cylinder liner out, dismantle everything, replace the cylinder liner. That was my first trip as a chief engineer.
So you had all the parts on board to do this?
Yeah, I have all the special tools.
Right.
I had a cylinder liner, new cylinder liner.
Wow.
I had a new piston with the piston rod, everything. And I changed
You
everything up.
changed the cylinder lining.
Yeah.
Okay.
I replaced the cylinder liner.
Right.
And I make my trip. And when I back to Cuba,
Right.
the technical section go to pass inspection, the fair inspection, and the superintendent told me, oh, he go in the engine room and look, and I say, oh, but what happened? And I say, I changed the cylinder liner.
Wow.
Oh, but you don't request authorization. I say, I am the chief engineer in this vessel, and I decided what to do.
Wow. So you used the initiative, changed it. The ship ran well.
And that was final. They don't, immediately when they remove me from that vessel, I go on vacation. And
Right.
when I finish on my vacation, say, oh, you go to Manesis in Spain to receive a new vessel.
So you went to Spain.
Yeah. To receive
A new vessel or a different vessel?
No, a new.
This is like
Brand new.
This was a Cuban vessel as well?
Yeah, brand new. Yes.
This is another big ship.
Yeah, big.
Wow. So you went on that ship. For how long you was on that one?
I have passed, okay, in my life as engineer, if you see my service record, you will see that I don't have too many vessels. Well, I probably have 10, 20.
That's a lot.
Yeah, but my period on vessel was
A long time.
long.
Oh, so once you
Long.
got on the ship, you was on there for a couple of years.
Federal, as a chief engineer, you go prepare your vessel to your convenience. When I say that, you preset all your calculation, you take all drawing of the ship, you plotting all power for different conditions. You have time, but actually, when you pass a long time in the vessel, you know your vessel. And when you are in your cabin, you hear a normal noise, you take your phone and say, hey, something is not sounding right down there. Check what it is.
Right.
Because the experience is when you have a long time in the vessel, you
could
get
hear when
familiar
something
with
wrong.
all noise. You know what is the normal noise. You know
Right,
what is the normal
right.
one.
Yeah.
And you know.
So that's good. So we got a lot of questions here, Mario. What we could do now is we can open the phone lines. Because just in case we got somebody who want to chime in on this, I'm enjoying this, I can tell you, man. I mean, people probably could hear it in my voice. I'm enjoying this so much. We're going to open the lines. Brother Craig, can we open the line? So, people, the number to call is 326, and I had to learn this out of my head, 8255. That's 326 8255. If you want to get in on any questions to this great chief engineer I have in front of me, please feel free to call, and we will take your call as we go along. In the meantime and in between time, if you don't, well, of course, we'll just go on and furnish the rest of our questioning. And I want to put a question to you, Brother Mario, about, we talked briefly about systems on ships, right? Yeah. Compared to land-based engineering. Ships have systems. And there's so many systems: the fuel, the low oil, the cooling system for the machinery, the freshwater cooling system, and the seawater cooling system, air condition, electrical, fire pump system, because you got to be prepared for firefighting. All those transfer systems for fuel, for all kind of things, right? And then of course you got the ballast system. Ballast water system, and it's dynamic. So in a nutshell, because we don't have time to take it one at a time, because right now we only got about half hour left. Hey, time just goes so fast in the show, man. You believe an hour gone?
Yeah.
We just getting set up in an hour gone. So those systems, you are an engineer coming out of school and having a certification as an officer in charge of engineering watch. Would he be familiar with all those systems?
He had to learn it.
That's what he learned while he in university.
You learn in the maritime school. They give you plenty drawing of different systems. Every shipbuilder have the way to design things.
Also, ships are not. The systems change based on the ship.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. Wow.
And then every manufacturer lay out the pipe in the engine room in different ways. Now, you need to learn that. That's the reason why when you are assistant engineer, your chief engineer tell you need to go and take the
all the systems.
And go and this is a habit that when the new engineer join the ship, the first thing that do is go and trace all system and get familiar with the system. You can go to receive a new vessel, or a vessel that you join, and you have to go and learn.
Right.
You have the basic how to start the engine, how reverse, how to do this, how to start one diesel generator, put in line. But the basic you have to have this knowledge. You have to have this training. You don't succeed.
Right. So systems is extremely important in engineering on board ships.
Yeah, and in any place.
Because you need to know which pipe is connected to which system.
Yeah. In any
is
place.
it color coded though?
Yes.
Or they mark them by numbers or letters?
No.
Just color coded.
Color.
The whole pipe is painted a different color? Or you got...
No. Let me tell you how. That is a different markings.
Right.
A marking, but the standard marking that you can find is the salt water is green, right?
The pipe is painted green? The whole pipe?
Sometimes.
Or the marking is green?
It's a ring. They put a
green ring.
A green ring.
That means salt water.
About every 5-6 foot, you see that ring.
A green band, okay.
Yeah. Or they painted the whole piping.
That color.
The ballast system is painted in that.
It's brown.
No,
what color is the ballast?
Green.
Oh, that's salt water. Yeah, that's
salt water.
Right.
And ballast is salt water. Now
ballast is
that
salt
is
water,
they colored this with green.
So what are the colors they use in the engine room for pipes?
They use compressed air. They use the yellow one. The steam.
Yellow is air?
Yeah.
Oh, now what about the fire? The firefighting is red.
Red.
Okay. What else they got?
The thing they take the seatbelt Chinese color. You know that the.
You mean like the galvanized?
Yeah, that usually the steam pipe is highly insulator.
They use insulation around it.
Yeah.
What color?
It's hot.
So what color those are?
This is a seatbelt.
Okay.
And then you have the fuel is red.
Or the fuel is red and the fire pump is the fire.
And the firing system is red.
So how do you know the difference between the fuel and the fire?
Because okay, you have in the main line, firing line that is on deck, you will see always red. And
Yes,
and if it's not red, you will see green, the pipe, because it's salt water, but the valve is painted red. That's firefighting.
Right. What about I see something painted brown in engine room.
The brown is oil.
Oh, that's oil.
That's oil.
That's lube oil.
That's lube oil.
Oh, okay. Good.
That's lube oil.
Well, that's what we want to talk about too. We want to talk about some lube oil because I have a question as to when engines are being serviced. Because how much oil on a typical international cargo ship engine? Because the cargo ship you used to wake on when you go onto this new ship in Spain. How much oil would that engine need to refill it when they drain the oil to change the oil?
Okay, let me tell you something. The oil in the mine engine, especially in the mine engine, actually you don't take all oil out. You usually you don't take it out.
You don't just drain the engine.
No, you don't drain.
You don't do it like how you do cars.
No, you don't do that. Similar the generator or the car or no. The engine. The oil of the engine on the crankcase.
Right.
You have a system that we call a centrifugal separator that is cleaning the oil 24/7. It means this oil, the quantity of carbon and solid is very minimal because you are cleaning this oil every day.
So as the oil passes through the engine, it goes to this centrifugal.
That separator.
What is it? Oil? What you call that? Oil
separator.
Filter? Oil separator.
Oil separator.
And it actually spins the oil and throws out the bad oil.
The solid.
Right.
The only thing that it do is remove the solid and the water if you have any. That is very.
Oh, it takes the water from the oil too.
Yeah, if you have any particular water or something,
it throws it out.
It throw it out, and then this is from the oil.
Right.
And then this oil, you are adding. Let's say you are making a trip, and you add, let's say, 20 gallons of oil, 30, depends.
Yeah.
But this oil is always in the renewal process because you are always adding.
Because you always losing oil because the bad stuff getting thrown out.
You are cleaning up the oil.
So you adding all the time?
Not really.
But when I say all the time, I mean as you lose, you got to keep topping up.
Yeah, when you get a significant drop, you have to look for if you had a leak in your system or in your cooler because
something has to be wrong. Yeah, something like air conditioning system. If it ain't cooling no more, something leaking.
Okay, especially in this vessel that have the alpha lava, that is the flat heat exchange that is with many plates, many plates, and sometimes the seal start to failing and you start to losing oil. Yeah,
right.
You start to losing oil. But it's very rare that this thing happen.
Yeah, but once that happens, you know something wrong
exactly,
and you gotta fix it.
The service in the engine every day is the keeping is checking the oil level.
Yeah.
They are checking the cooling water level in the expansion, the temperature
and the level
and the levels,
right,
and the level in the build well too. You are checking everything,
so you'll know when the level going down because then it can never go up.
No, you
always coming down,
and
you monitor that, and then you will know when you need to add oil.
You have some problem with the generator. You only check it and you pass hour and you don't add oil. They don't consume oil or leak oil. No,
right.
Wait, when you have a good engine room, when you have a good arrangement and you have everything covered,
tight, you don't lose much.
All the crankcase door are with the correct gasket and tighted properly and everything.
Yeah,
and you don't lose no oil.
But typically, engines, because they're moving a lot, they typically lose some oil, water, especially when it's going through the oil separator and all that. And that what they're losing is going to the waste oil tank? Is that what goes to the waste oil tank?
Exactly. The separator has the discharge of the oily water, the separator go to the sludge tank.
Sludge tank.
Sludge tank.
What's the difference? I thought sludge tank was sludge tank is oil.
Oil and solids.
Yeah, but what I think I thought sludge tank was sewage. Well, you may be right. We call them all slop tank or sludge tank.
Okay, the organization in the engine room is you have every how you call overflow from the fuel go in a tray, and that tray had a pipe and go in the big well to that tank. Every leaking of oil or fuel go in that tank.
Right. So that tank is topping up all the time, and
no, sometimes you have the tank empty because you know no leak.
Well, I'm talking about a regular ship. Wait. I'm not talking about a brand new ship where everything is
No. In the regular ship, it's one of the things that the engineer make sure is that there is no leak, because any leak of fuel and oil is a potential.
But
hazard.
is it a leak when the oil separated detects and throws out bad oil and water and stuff? That's not considered a leak, eh?
No, that's not a leak.
But that stuff is going to the tank.
That go in that tank.
Right. So the tank is on a routine basis always building up.
Okay. Let's say you have your separator. The separator.
Same thing with when you pump the bilge through the oily water separator. Some of that bad stuff goes to the waste oil tank.
Okay.
Or sludge tank.
Okay. If you have a separator that is full automatic.
Yeah.
You programming this. And let's say every 2 hours, he flush and send it to the tank.
Yeah.
And if you have the old kind of separator that many years back I worked, you have to dismantle all that thing.
Clean it up.
Take all this out. Cleaning up the bowl, to remove all these things.
And then put it back.
And then assemble it back.
But you got to do that while the engine off or while it's running?
No. Sometimes the engine is running and you go and stop that and you clean it up. That's no problem to doing that.
Or you disconnect it from the engine?
Yeah, you close the
valve.
The valve that go to.
So it bypass that.
They bypass that. You bypass your separator.
Right.
And you clean it up. And now, see, it's automatic. When you are in unattended machinery space, that everything is automatic. The valve close automatically, flush, and everything. You don't have to touch anything.
Wow. Well, we're going to go to the break, Mario. And when we come back, we want to talk about that sludge tank, that waste oil tank. How ships get rid of that bad oil. Because, we got this feeling that some ships is be dumping that. And we need to know if it could dump, how it could dump. And we're going to be right back after the break to discuss all that goodness. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Maritime Matters. We had the phone lines open up. I guess we're a little technical today, so you guys don't even want to call in and say hello to Mario or say hello to me. Boy, I don't know why y'all is doing so bad. But anyway, the number to call, 326-8255. Again, 326-8255. Ain't nothing wrong with calling and saying hello, Anyway, we can move on to talk a little bit more about this waste oil tank, how ships supposed to get rid of that waste oil, and how come we had cruise ships and other ships in our waters dumping some of that waste oil. And I think we got the right man for the job. So let me just rope you in, Mario, and tell us that waste oil tank, how is it oil supposed to get out? How can oil get out of that tank? Because we got a lot of lines leading to the tank. We got lines leading from the oily water separator system, where the 15 parts per million water goes overboard, and the rest, the oil that it collects and separates, sends it to the waste oil tank. And of course, we got the oil separator, where good oil comes out and bad oil goes through a little pipe tube and is pumped again to that waste oil. How do we? Well, first of all, do you have to keep an account of the oil in that slop tank?
Yes.
How do you keep account of it?
Yeah, you had a sounding pipe. You put your sounding.
Oh, you have a dipstick or a sounding pipe. You call it dipstick, but a sounding pipe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you drop your something there, and you already have in the drawing of the ship, you have a sounding table that is
Right.
telling you according to the height of the stick.
Yes.
It's telling you the
How much capacity.
how much
Okay.
you have. Now,
So how often you do that? Every day or every week, or how often that's supposed to be done? The sounding.
the sounding you have to do every day.
Oh, it's daily.
Yeah.
Wow. And you where do you
No.
keep that record? Is that an oil record book? Do you keep that in an oil record book or somewhere else?
No, that is the engine room logbook.
Oh, okay. You put that
Had
details.
a section
That
that
asks for
had
that.
all soundings.
Wow.
Okay, use sounding, and when the engineer is gonna receive his watch keeping,
Yeah.
he go and look for this sounding, the temperature of the engine, the temperature of the generator, the load that you have in the distribution panel
Yeah.
power. You say how many kilowatt are.
That's
you
part
are-
of handover.
Yes.
Wow. So once you take over the watch, you already know that.
Yeah.
And you gotta continue.
Yeah, and you have to continue checking. And if there is any a big deviation of one of these parameters, you
Yeah.
have to call the chief engineer and say, we
Something
have
ain't
problem.
right. Yeah.
We have problem here.
Wow. Okay, so as that tank fills up, you can't pump it at sea, obviously.
No, you have to pump that a pole.
You have to pump it ashore.
Yeah, you cannot pump
You have to
that-
call a truck.
Yeah, and you pump it out.
And what's the arrangement? Okay, you got a pipe. My understanding is there's a pipe leading from that tank, going through the deck until it gets to the upper deck.
Uh-huh.
And then it have a flange or an international shore connection.
Yes.
And that connection is
It's blanket up.
blanked off
Yeah,
while the ship is moving.
you had a blind
Uh-huh.
flange
A blank flange over it.
over it. And
So when
then-
the truck comes with the hose,
Yeah.
the hose of the truck has a connector that mates,
They
With
make
that international shore connection.
Yeah. And
and
then
they bolt it together.
then you will start your pump down there and pump out everything out.
So tied into that line, a pump sucks everything out and sends it to the truck.
And send it to the truck. There is no way that you can go and pump in this.
So there's no lines leading from that waste oil tank to the hull where you could send that overboard.
No. There is
So the
no way
only
that-
way you could pump that out is by going through that international shore connection to the truck.
Yeah. Now, if you have a serious problem with fuel, what the people do usually, they take the empty drum of oil
Yeah.
and they pump it to these drums. You pump the waste oil to this drum,
To the drum.
and to secure until you are right to pour,
pour.
and you dispose that.
Oh, so if
And
you mean
you
if the tank get
let's
full.
say, yeah, exactly. You get the capacity of tank is too full.
Yeah.
Then you have to go. You have
Use
to
portable drums.
Yeah, you take your drum. This oil, 55-gallon drum of oil.
But the lube oil come in,
The
yeah.
lube oil. Then you go take the empty one and prepare one or two and put it.
Let the waste oil go in there.
Yeah, and secure in the deck.
Right,
and
right,
immediately you go to pour, you drop
gotta
that thing
discharge that.
and make sure to finish pumping your tank out.
Right. And you got all this information goes in the oil record book.
Yeah.
Okay. So my question is, how then do ships dump oil at sea? If they don't have a truck to come to that international shore connection, how could they dump oil? They could put a hose on that international shore connection and let it go in the water?
Well, that is one way. And another way is that they can go, okay, you know that the system, I am talking about all systems.
All ships, yeah.
systems. All vessels have interconnection between ballast
Ballast water?
and bilge.
Or the ballast pump, the ballast piping system.
Yeah, the ballast
And the
piping
bilge pumping system.
had an interconnection to the bilge.
Okay.
Okay, and that was made in provision, and you had a damage in the hull, and you have a incoming water to the engine room in some extent, in some volume that the bilge pump is not able to handle it. Then you use the ballast pump. The ballast pump has emergency suction.
So the ballast pump it can work two ways then. It fills the tank, the ballast tank, and it could also empty the ballast tank.
Yes, and also can bilge.
And the belts could be connected to that wireless.
You can pumping out incoming water to the engine room if you had a damage in the hood.
Right, so the engine room wouldn't get flooded.
Exactly.
Oh.
But that was the old basic. I don't know now how that thing work. The design now probably changed.
Yeah.
Definitely changed. Has to be changed. Because now the new construction is making sure that your pumping arrangement from the bilge has to pass for the oily water separator, and he has to be powerful enough in order to handle a big quantity of water.
So most likely when those cruise ships were dumping oil, there's evidence that they were dumping oil. They even got fined in the U.S. When they were dumping oil, they probably just connected a line to that international shore connection and started the pump and just let it go in the water.
Yeah, but
and that's the easiest way, eh?
Yeah, that's the easy one, but that is...
So it could happen.
Yeah,
it could happen at sea. I was wondering if it was possible. But obviously it is, because if you only put a blank plate over that flange, that international shore connection, that blank plate can always be removed, and a makeshift line, heavy line, I'm going to the side of the ship and down into the water.
And don't put it up.
It could be used and turn on the pump so that the waste oil go in the sea.
I can tell you one thing. This is the enforcement of the law in the country.
Right.
If you don't have a group of persons that monitoring your water,
the port state inspectors,
you are going to get this problem. In United States, it's not going to happen. They have a plane, they have drone, they have patrol, and they are monitoring this even by satellite.
That's right.
They go and say, hey, you have the vessel is sailing. They take the picture, take the position, and they show you the picture of the decoloration of the water.
Yeah, they have all the evidence.
And when they go, the minimum fine you get is 10 grand. That's the minimum one.
Well, if you're lucky.
You're lucky.
Yeah, they really go. They usually start from like 30, 40. I mean,
you're lucky.
And that's not any big money to those ship owners, but I think we in the Bahamas need to, like you said, we need to beef up on our ability to actually investigate these things.
It's simple. It's simple, Glenn. How many times we'll say Bahamian vessel in the bay, and the Bahamian vessel had the discipline to put, when arrive 6 p.m. low down the flag, and then sometimes you see people with the flag up. Or you are not respecting the country.
No,
you are not respecting nothing.
They have no respect for.
They don't respecting them, and there is nobody that coming in the boat, the patrol, and tell hey,
you got to take that flag down.
And then,
you got to put that flag up. Yeah.
And then, how many judges you are here that you know that they pumping everything out?
Yeah.
And this is it's a crime, really.
It's a crime, but not only that, Mario. We got a fleet of mail boats. We got a fleet of fishing boats. We got even in some cases defense force boats. Some of the older ones that I know of, they have everything goes straight into the sea. Mind you, they don't change the oil and put the oil in the sea, but the toilets flush in the sea. All the drains from showers and dishwashers and those things go into the sea.
That is the reason why I tell you that one of the best vessels that I was serving in the Bahamas was the feeder. The feeder was a small vessel, but have the sewage plant.
Everything in place. Oh, you had a sewer plant on the feeder?
Sewage plant. You had all water of the kitchen go to that tank. The toilet go flushing in that tank, and this, and then also.
So how does a sewage treatment plant work? Because I know cruise ships have sewage treatment plants, and well, of course they got to be able to get rid of because there's so many people on board cruise ships. But you had a sewage treatment plant on the feeder.
Yeah, but this is a small plant.
It's small, but you only got a handful of crew.
Yeah, exactly.
So how did that work? Could you explain to us the setup?
It's very simple. I see.
All the pipes coming, all the gray water and black water leading to one end of it.
Okay, I'm going to put you one illustration. The cesspit of the house.
Right.
The cesspit of the house is the same principle. You have the cesspit divided. It's a tank, and it's divided in the middle, and then all solids go in
On one side, right.
That is bathrooms and everything.
Yes.
Right? And in the other side, the gray water, as
The
you
water,
recall,
the water goes over the wall.
Then, and when the black water overflow, go. But it's a process. It's a long process.
Yes. You got to get full first, and then the overhanging
And
water.
now, in the vessel, it's completely different. You have the same tank, but the difference is that you have a compressor pumping air, and this air allows to break all this thing that you have in the tank, and it breaks.
So you have air circulating on
pumping air
on the circleway side, on the far side, or not the side where it's coming in.
No. In the bottom of the tank.
Yeah.
You have a pipe that coming from the bottom of the pipe or the tank,
right.
And then in the top you have a compressor, and this compressor is forcing compressed air, and the air is bubbling inside.
Yes, it's causing the stuff to break up.
Bubbling, and it breaking all this thing.
Okay.
And
so
then,
after it break up,
when it break, all this solid goes sit down in the bottom.
Right.
And this water coming up.
Oh, so
then,
mainly water going over the water.
Then you go and add chlorine.
Oh, you treat it.
Yeah, treat it, and you kill all bacteria. Treat it.
So you treat it when it get in the next section. You treat it. It's only water.
It's water with chlorine.
So you treat the water with the chlorine and whatever solution, and then you discharge it. Send it overboard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I know they say you have to be some 12 miles. You can't do that within 12 miles.
You cannot pump this.
You have to be at least 12 miles from any land.
You cannot pump that. You cannot pump that in a port. No matter.
Not in port, right?
No, in port. You have to be 12 miles over 12 miles out in order to do that.
So when you're in port, you're supposed to have a small holding tank, and so that when you get out, you could pump, you could discharge your holding tank and everything else.
This tank is calculated in some way that you know how to overflow in this tank.
Right.
You know how to overflow.
But cargo ships, because you got a lot of wide spaces for tanks and stuff. So okay. Well, Mario, I think our time.
Go ahead. This time goes.
We have 5 minutes left.
We don't talk. I have a lot of things.
The black and gray water, and at least you talk a little bit about treating that on board. The firefighting system. We haven't really mentioned anything about the fact that engineers have to keep the firefighting system up and going. And when you have firefighting drills, and when you do have a fire, it's the engineers play a very major role in
the engineer
dealing with the fire pump, the fire hydrants, the fire hoses.
Okay, the engineer actually, the function of the engineer is all system associated, you have to keep it operational. If you have a pump, the emergency fire pump, you have to keep this pump operational. Now, the maintenance of the hydrant, or the hose and everything is responsibility of the set mate. The set mate is the person that is in charge of all firefighting things.
Oh, so that's a direct responsibility for ensuring that the hydrants and the connections and the hoses are maintained.
And the extinguisher service and heating time, that's the same may do that.
So the engineers only deal with the pump itself.
The pump itself,
and the pipes
make sure that the pump is operational.
Right, and maintain and all the rest of that.
Even the CO2 room, the segment is responsible for that. The engineer, the only thing that go and check the integrity of the system is the valve and
In 3 minutes, you mentioned CO2 room. I want to jump on that quick. But before I do that, let me just mention my sponsors for tonight's show and for all our shows, not just tonight. There's my go-to people. One-on-One Pharmacy. Of course, that's my good cousin Shantia Heel McBride and her lovely team. They're located Charles Sanders Highway and East Street South. And anytime you need prescription fills, anytime you need any kind of medication, just do not pass One-on-One Pharmacy. Try and get there, and they will see you straight. We got BMC, Bahamas Maritime Connection. That's us again. We provide a full slate of ISPS maritime security services. And thirdly, we got totally secured security and investigation services. My good friend Andrew Stirrup out there in 8 Mile Rock and all over Freeport. give them a call at 819-8944. If you need security officers at a location, if you need security investigation carried out, if you need some big muscle guys to beat up somebody who fooling around with your little children, call Andrew Stirrup at 819-8944. Oh, and he's a black belt karate man too, so you'll be straight. Thank you very much. Okay, Mario. Now we in this 2 minutes we got left, right? I think our producer might give us an extra minute, but in this 2 minutes, 2 minutes we got left. Let's talk about that. What's that you to mention now? The CO2 room. Because I was a ship inspector for 3 years. I had to go and inspect CO2 rooms, and it's such a danger because you got to remember, if the CO2 room is normally closed, it's kept locked. And like you said, the third engineer, who's in charge of all the safety equipment, keeps the key. And when we go in there, they have inspectors who have actually went in the CO2 rooms and died. Because if one of those tanks are leaking,
oh yeah,
and that inspector goes in there and they close the door and they start to walk around. And that CO2, because now you got CO2 overpowering the oxygen. And once the CO2 overpowers the oxygen, you don't have enough oxygen in there to be able to breathe properly. And so before they could get to the door, they can't breathe, and they just, the two of them, whoever's in there, just die.
Yeah.
And a couple of minutes later, somebody looking for them, they say, boy, we ain't see so-and-so. And the time as they get there, because of the CO2 leak, they died.
Exactly. You know why this thing happen? Because usually you have to set with this. The CO2 room is very important because it preserves the integrity of the ship. If you have a fire in the engine room, the CO2 is the only way that you can extinguish this.
Because the purpose of the CO2 room is to keep all those CO2 extinguishers so that if you have a fire in the engine room, you seal off the engine room and you drench, and all of that CO2 floods the engine room so that the fire wouldn't have any oxygen to breathe and the fire will out.
Yeah, but there is a procedure in order to do that. You have to go, federal, the set may have the key of this place.
Right.
Also, you have to go every week. You go on inpatient the room.
Make sure there ain't no tank leaking. Yeah.
Immediately when you open the door of the room, the alarm
goes off to say somebody open the door. Yeah.
Yeah, go off. And then you have to go down there and see if there is any leak.
Right.
And the leak, the only way that you can know if there is any leak is you touch the cylinder is frozen.
Yeah.
Or start to getting this white.
Then you know
thing,
it's leaking.
You know it's leaking.
Right. Well, anyway, Mario, we're closing out now. And before we close out, I want to give you the opportunity to say hello to anybody in the Bahamas you want to say hello to. Because you know, if you don't say hello to some people, me and you could be in trouble.
Yeah.
Go ahead and say hello to anybody you want to say.
Well, I have greeting for all my crew.
Yes, sir.
I have greeting for the Captain Black,
yes.
Captain Avilu, Bill Williams, my second engineer, Brian Sanjudas.
Yes.
Well, I have so many people to greet that I really, the time is not really enough, but well, all of you receive my sincerest greeting. And I hope that you take the time and call the office at least. I cannot forget this one. My greeting to Captain Louise, my wife.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. You don't want to go home tonight, eh? Yeah. Okay, people. That's engineer extraordinaire, Mr. Mario, Chief Engineer Mario Jesus Campos. He is my brother-in-law. He's my co-worker. He's my very good friend. We go 20 years back and counting. And I thank him for blessing our show, Maritime Matters, tonight. We didn't get any calls, but I'm sure a lot of people learn a lot because, boy, I sure learned a lot. And I thought I knew a little bit about engineering. So until next week, we're going to have another interesting guest, but we will be bringing Mario back at some point because we got some things we didn't quite cover. And Mario, thank you very much again, my friend. And to the Bahamas, from Love 97, Maritime Matters, out.